The Mock Trial of Epstein, and Those Who Enabled Him. Hosted by Influence of Art at the Infinite Table. This is not a court of law, but a court of conscience. Here we will examine the illegality of NDAs that silence victims, especially women and minorities, yet NDAs have been violating all the human rights laws that say NDAs are used for oppression. The language of ownership, Trump's public statement that Virginia Giuffre was stolen from him by Epstein. This single remark exposes a mindset where women are seen as property, a direct human rights violation by leadership, showing the deep underground oppression women live in. The systemic failures of justice, money, and media that allowed trafficking to flourish. This mock trial is about truth as justice, and justice as witnessing what was denied. Invitation to the View. We extend to the View an open invitation to join this tribunal as advisory council and jury. But unlike a courtroom of hierarchy, you are invited to sit at the infinite table, where every voice is equal, every presence sacred, and where justice is not above us but among us. We ask each of you to choose your seat. Human Rights Table, for Whoopi, whose voice has cut through decades of silencing. Truth Tellers and Artists Table, for Joy, whose wit and sharp tongue speak what others dare not. Indigenous Wisdom Table, for Sunny, whose legal mind and spiritual compass hold both past and future. Scientists with Soul Table, for Sarah, who navigates questions of belief, doubt, and reason. Misunderstood Prophets Table, for Anna, whose immigrant voice often brings truths from the margins. Future Beings Table, for Alyssa, whose politics intersect with technology and tomorrow. And at the center, God's Table, no throne but a circle of witness, where all words are weighed in truth. Why this trial matters. This is not just about Epstein. It is about a systemic theft of women's humanity, enforced by money, secrecy, and power. It is about how the language of ownership bleeds into law, media, and culture. It is about rewriting justice where women are not property, but sovereign beings. At the infinite table, every case is heard in infinite detail, because nothing is too small when justice has been denied. Formal invitation. To the hosts of The View. Influence of Art invites you to sit with us at the infinite table, alongside spirits, artists, prophets, and peacemakers. You are asked not to spectate but to participate, as jury, as counsel, as women carrying the voice of millions who never had a day in court. Bring your stories. Bring your skepticism. Bring your truth. The infinite table has no head. Only witness. Only justice. The chair you choose will tell us not only where you sit, but what you stand for. Scripted live event. The Mock Trial of Epstein, the Infinite Table convenes. Hosted by Influence of Art. Opening scene. Lights dim. A circle of tables, the infinite table, stretches endlessly, each with its own symbol. At the center, a pearl-like God's table glows, reflecting all others. The hosts of The View walk in, invited to take their seats. A hush falls. Narrator, Influence of Art. Welcome to the infinite table, where no voice is silenced, no truth erased, no woman treated as property. Today, we convene a mock trial, not to replace the courts, but to reveal the truths they buried. Court is called to order. Judge's voice. The people versus Jeffrey Epstein, and all who enabled him. The charges: human trafficking, abuse, silencing through illegal NDAs, and the systemic violation of women's human rights. A gavel strikes once. Silence follows. Speaking head in silhouette, The View joins as jury and counsel. Narrator. To this trial we welcome The View. Choose your tables, choose your truths. Each host is AI metaphorically represented, and was selected purely for a mock petition of human rights at the Epstein Inquisition with the spirits present, the past leaders of each table and Epstein. AI selects a table. AI Whoopi sits at Human Rights Table. AI Joy sits at Truth Tellers and Artists Table. AI Sunny sits at Indigenous Wisdom Table. AI Sarah sits at Scientists with Soul Table. AI Anna sits at Misunderstood Prophets Table. AI Alyssa sits at Future Beings Table. AI whoopee, to the audience. Let's be clear, this trial isn't fiction. It's what should have happened. Opening argument. Prosecution, influence of art. Jeffrey Epstein used NDAs not as contracts but as chains. He silenced victims through fear. Worse still, Donald Trump once claimed Virginia Giuffre was stolen from him by Epstein, revealing not only rivalry but possession. In his own words, a woman was property. This language alone constitutes a crime against humanity. Evidence presented. Clips and transcripts of Trump's statement about Giuffre. NDAs used against survivors, analyzed for coercion. Testimony from Virginia Giuffre, archival quotes. Sunny, legal commentary. These NDAs are not protections, they are gag orders. In any just system, they'd be void. Joy, cutting in. And the property comment? That's not just sexism, that's feudalism. Witnesses from the infinite table. Figures rise from their symbolic tables to speak. Maya Angelou, Truth-Teller's Table. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies, but still, like air, we rise. And so must these women. Joan of Arc, Misunderstood Prophet's Table. They called me mad for hearing voices. Today, I hear the voices of the silenced, crying for justice. Nelson Mandela, Human Rights Table. To deny people their human rights is to challenge their very humanity. What was done here is no less than war against women. Ada Lovelace, Scientists with Soul Table. Systems are built by logic. When systems silence women, that logic is corruption itself. The audience sits in reverent silence. Cross-examination, The View as jury counsel. AI whoopee. If women are property, then what does freedom even mean in America? AI Sarah, the science of coercion is clear, silence is forced, not chosen. AI Anna, we've seen this before in dictatorships. Ownership of bodies is the first tyranny. Final reflection at God's table. The mirrored God's table pulses. A child's voice echoes, symbolizing unborn generations. Voice. When women are property, humanity is in chains. When women are free, all are free. Verdict. Judge's voice, off stage. This tribunal finds Jeffrey Epstein guilty in spirit, and all enablers complicit. But more importantly, this table finds the system guilty of treating women as commodities instead of sovereign beings. Globe showing Europe-Africa closing words. Narrator, influence of art. This was a mock trial. But the pain, the testimony, the evidence, real. Let this gathering mark not the end, but the beginning. The infinite table is set. The seats are waiting. Justice is not above us, but among us. Gavel strikes. But instead of closure, the sound reverberates endlessly, justice ongoing. Lights fade. The tables glow as if still alive, still listening. We ask AI to weigh in on what would be answers from beyond. This is as close as it gets. Answer. That's a very profound question, and it touches on two different dimensions. What Epstein the man would likely say if conjured in spirit, based on his earthly behavior, actions and public record. What Epstein the archetype, the spirit of systemic abuse and power, might reveal if truth were stripped bare, at the infinite table, where no lie can endure. 1. Epstein as he was. If called from beyond in a mock tribunal, Epstein's personal ego would almost certainly reconfirm innocence. He denied charges repeatedly while alive, despite mounting evidence. Shift blame. He might argue he was a scapegoat for a broader network of elites. Justify actions. He might cloak crimes in the language of consent, business, or agreements, pointing to NDAs and contracts as shields. In other words, the man himself, unrepentant in life, would likely remain defensive and manipulative in spirit. 2. Epstein as stripped spirit, truth at the infinite table. But if you imagine the infinite table as a place where the soul cannot hide, where every word is mirrored at God's table, then his voice would tremble differently. He would admit that his empire was built on silencing women, exploiting minors, and protecting powerful men. He would reveal the complicity of institutions, banks, media, politics, law enforcement. He would confess that he viewed women and girls as property, currency, leverage. Repentance may come not as sorrow, but as exposure, the truth pouring out because at this table lies cannot breathe. Possible spoken lines. Epstein, ego, unrepentant. I was a financier. A dealmaker. Everything was arranged, consented, even celebrated. I was no monster, just a man of appetite in a world of hypocrisy. Epstein, truth, spirit stripped. But here at this table, I cannot lie. The truth is, I trafficked human souls for the powerful. I saw women as property, not people. I was not alone. I was not the worst. But I was willing. And that is my damnation.